Sydney housing at $18,000. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.Heise here, and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee. Let's have a look at this article written by Stephen Koukoulas. Sydney house prices at $18,700. It's back to the future. Now, before we go through this article, because I'm interested to see what Koukoulas is talking about here with regards to Sydney houses. Well, we see $18,000 houses. Let's just have a look at what the current asking prices from SQM are in Sydney. Oh boy. Well, $1.7 million for all houses. And three bedders, a good family home. A good family home, $1.5 million. Sydney isn't for normal people anymore. Not for average people, everyone. That's just the way it is. It's just the way it's going to be. So let's have a look at what Koukoulas is saying. One of the truly great thrills of doing research on economic history is uncovering information on what the economy was like many years ago. Frequently, some shocking or unfathomable data pops up that shows how the structure of the economy and society, for that matter, has changed in the space of 50 years. This article shares that information, and as you read through it, your jaw will drop at many of the indicators which are truly incredible. Let's start with house prices. 1970, the median Sydney house price was $18,700. 1970, guys, that's not that long ago. That's 51 years ago. If you were born in 1970, you're 51. You're not that old. You're still working. You're still enjoying life. $18,700. Melbourne was just $12,800. Perth prices were relatively high. Perth, $17,500. The database from Peter Abelson and Demi Chung from Macquarie University calculated that in 71, house prices were $11,900 in Adelaide, $18,000 in Canberra, $11,875 in Hobart. The earliest data for Brisbane is 73, because we didn't exist before 73, where the median house price was $17,500. These prices are quite remarkable. Yeah, but what was the wage back then? Unemployment is always a hot economic and political topic. In 65, the unemployment rate was 1.3%, a rate today's policymakers can only dream about. What was the level of welfare back then? What was the minimum wage? How much of a pain in the ass was it to employ someone back then? Jumping through all the hoops you have to now. There's a lot more to it. And, well, just think about it. Back then in the 60s, women weren't working as much. There was an expectation that you would take care of the family at home and be a housewife. That's gone now. That doesn't exist anymore. Well, it's a luxury these days. Having one person, regardless if it's the husband or wife, actually staying at home, raising the family and keeping the house, that's a luxury. You either have to be making really good coin or you have to sacrifice to make that happen. So, all right, yes, okay. Indeed, for the period from 64 to 71, the unemployment rate was 1.9% or lower. It begs the question, if Australia could have an unemployment rate that low back then, why can't it now? Well, I wonder why. Australia, probably because it's easier not to work these days than it was back then. Maybe it wasn't frowned upon. Maybe they just weren't bludgers like we are now. What do you reckon? But then what's the point? Back then, you know what it could be? You know what it honestly could be? Simply that it was worth it to work. Because you could get a home. You could start a family. You could get a house. Where Sydney, 16 years to save for just the deposit. Yeah, totally worth it. Australia's history on inflation shows some results unthinkable today. In both 74 and 75, annual inflation was over 15%. And from 73 to 83, inflation averaged 11% per annum. The dislocation caused from this phenomenon was, in effect, a decade of rolling recessions, high unemployment, and misery. The ABS data shows that average weekly wages and earnings in March quarter of 69 was $67, which is $3,500 per annum. Okay, so $3,500 per annum in what, 69? What are we looking at here for our houses? Okay, so let's just get out good old calc here. We'll do 18,700 divided by 3.5. There you go. So houses were 5.3 times the 5.3 times the average wage in 69 per annum. What are people borrowing now? With a deposit 6? So these data were per employed male unit. The data on female wages is not included in the publication. Yeah, because women didn't work as much. You didn't have to. This is the one thing that they never talk about. They need to look at the borrowing on households. Because you can't, all these people, I see it on that, what was that TV show about housing affordability, 730 did. You get a one-person household trying to find a house. It never was a one-person household. Sure, it was back then, but having two people working was an oddity. And we had family members. Rachel's grandparents. Her father was senior in the tax office. Forgive me, everyone. And he met his wife in the typing pool, at the typing pool. And, she wanted to keep working. And, of course, she would keep working because, women tend to get their ways, even in the patriarchy. Ooh. But he said, okay, the deal is, whatever you work doesn't go to our household. We'll put that in investments. He wanted to support his family, which, I thought, brilliant, really good. And he did. And it happened. So, yeah, that's why. The level of average wages put those house prices mentioned above in greater context. The labour force participation rates were, like most data, extraordinary. The male participation rate was 84%. For married females, it was 29%. Yeah, there you go. For unmarried females, it was 50%. And all females, 36.1%. Yes, because the unmarried were usually young, and they were working, and then they'd find a husband. Isn't that what you're meant to do? Then you become a team. It's called a married couple, and you start a family. How quaint that the APC thought it useful to disaggregate females into married and unmarried, and that the bizarre split was not used for male. Because males always work, Kakulis. Come on, mate. Oh, what virtue signaling bullshit that he put in there. How does he, okay, here's the reality. As a bloke, you work from beginning till the end. That's it. Okay? No one gives a shit. You can complain and bitch and moan. No one really cares. That's it. Just stop complaining. Work harder. That's it. You want a girlfriend? You want a wife? You want a family? You work. You've got to work. Okay? If you don't work, you're not going to get that. It's that simple. That's why. Men didn't have the privilege of being able to disengage from the workforce when they got married. Oh, come on. And these are people advising our prime ministers and our politicians with this mindset. How stupid is this? This is ludicrous that you don't understand what's going on there. Or what's more likely, he has to virtue signal to the crowd, to win the brownie points. Come on. Anyway, for context, the most recent data showed male participation is around 66%. For females, it's 57%. There you go. There you go. See, this is the thing. Now everyone has to work. You don't have a choice anymore. Data on whether the females are married or not is no longer published. Progress for sure. Oh. Maybe we should publish it for both to see how people are married. That'd be good. Because marriage, families, that's the kind of a unit of society that you want to encourage. I know the woke left don't want it anymore. They want to destroy the family and want everyone to be bloody well adopted by the state, pretty much. Anyway, we're going off topic. The annual pension in 1970s was $15.50 a week, so $806 a year. Not that many people got it for very long. Life expectancy at that time was around 71, compared to 83 today. In terms of educational attainment, the progress over the decades has been extraordinary. Okay, yeah. In the 70s, just 1/3 of students finished with year 12, and its equivalent. Today, it's around 85%. Back in the 70s, just 3% of young people went to university. Now it's 40%. Exactly. Because Whitlam opened up the universities, gave all the Gen Xers and Boomers free education, and, they got all through, It made no difference to who was attending. A lot of people are attending universities that don't need to. Now you have to attend, we've got degree inflation. You have to get university degrees just to get jobs. Businesses use university degrees as a proxy for other intelligence tests that they could do, which probably can't. So yeah, that's it. And you've got degree inflation. I graduated with 2 bachelors. Now people are graduating with a bachelor and a master's with the same qualification, same professional qualification. You know why? You know why they're doing it. It's more money for the unis. One of the reasons for looking at the facts is to contemplate how massively economic and personal finances can change in 2 generations. Imagine being able to buy a house in Sydney for 6 times your wage. Yeah. Imagine being one of the 2/3 of young people not finishing year 12 or the 97% of people who do not go to university. Imagine having 15 years where interest rates were above 10%. Yeah, imagine how much money you would get on your money in the bank. It would actually be worth sitting there. And no one would care if you didn't go to university because everyone else didn't. And a lot of people didn't finish high school. I had mates who didn't finish high school who got out and did a trade. That still happens. And the gendered workplace participation rates have changed to the point where women make up a larger share of the paid workforce than ever before. In 50 years from now, yeah, well, for those who are around, it would not be surprising that the median house in Sydney would be $10 million, average earnings something like $2 million per annum, unemployment will be near zero, and people will be living 100 years. We'll be debating whether the RBA should hike interest rates or not. Well, yeah. What do you reckon, guys? What do you think about that one? Let's have a bit of a talk. Well, interesting, some insight into what has changed over time, although, definitely feels like there was some virtue signaling there. But think about it, guys. A house in Sydney back in 1970 was only 5.3 times the annual earnings of one male, which would be a household. So you've got to compare that to how it is now. We've shot ourselves in the foot, guys. We all have to work 2 days a week. Two people in a household have to work. It'd be great only working 2 days a week. That'd be awesome. Anyway, guys, thanks for checking out this video. I want you to have a look at this one about JP Morgan saying Ethereum is better than Bitcoin. What do you reckon? Are you a crypto fan? Are you in Ethereum or Bitcoin camp, or are you in both? Check it out. Let me know in the comments below. Take care, and I'll see you all next time. Bye for now.